Hi, Gary here. Perpetual optimism is a force multiplier. That's a quote from General Colin Powell, something that he felt was very important in our military about how it relates to one of those very important factors that allows us to win in battle, optimism. And today I wanted to kind of go through the why of optimism, why it's important to do that. Now, before you think we're just a bunch of half-full types and eternally optimistic, let's kind of walk through some of the history here. So back in the 18th century, there was a group of folks in France, economists, called themselves the physiocrats, and they argued that the only value in the world was agriculture, land ownership. Because at that time, if you recall, the first part of the Industrial Revolution had started, and manufacturing was starting to produce many goods and services, and these economists were arguing against the fact that these could possibly be worth any value. They're very pessimistic about it. Now, about the same time, within about 20 years, Adam Smith, the modern father of economics here in the United States, wrote The Wealth of Nations. And I want to read something that he wrote at that time. I think it's very important. And what he wrote was this. He said, 5 years have seldom passed away in which some book or pamphlet has not been published pretending to demonstrate that the wealth of the nation was fast declining, that the country was depopulating, agriculture and neglected, and manufacturing decaying, and the trade undone. You know, it's fascinating because you can kind of pick up on those very same things being said today, or even 20 or 30 or 50 years ago. And it is kind of a little bit about the way we wired. Now, fast forward 200 years, and you come up with behavioral finance, something that's really come about very recently. There's the Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, who really has been most quoted on this. And one of the things he talks about behavioral finances is negativity bias. And negative bias says that you're more likely to take negative events and give them more credibility than you are on positive events. And you say, gee, it seems strange, why is it that way? Well, one of the things I've noticed is, and I saw this fact a while ago, was that over 60% of the words in the English language for emotions are for negative emotions. So we're kind of pre-wired this way. It's part of our makeup in our brain. You know, there's this little wallet-sized group of nuclei in the center of our brain called the amygdala. It sits on top of the brainstem, and all it does all day long is look for something to fear. And it looks for something to fear all the time. It's our emotional center. And Kahneman and Adam Smith and others recognized and saw these behavioral things, these emotional decisions being made very much in a pessimistic light. So we're already wired that direction. Now I want to give you a couple of books to look at that really are more on the optimist side if you really want to look at this from a different viewpoint than you've had from the past. One is a book by Matt Ridley called The Rational Optimist. Really great read, and he really goes through and makes very strong arguments why it makes sense to be a rational optimist today. The second book is Abundance by co-authored by Peter Diamandis. Now, he's a fellow back in 1996 that put out the X Prize, $10 million award for the first privately funded, non-government group that could put a spacecraft carrying passengers into orbit around the Earth twice within 2 weeks. And that prize was won in 2004. So it's amazing when you think about the 10, 15, 20 groups that tried for this, and one of them was actually able to do this without government aid, without the billions and trillions of dollars that needed to do that, obviously, in our space program here in the U.S. Now, the point is that when you look at where we are relative to being successful in business, it's really the rational optimist. It's the one who's oriented towards optimism that makes the biggest difference out there. And you know what, if you sign up for this blog, we'll give you a copy of books. I think they're a great read, perfect for you to do. And next time we're going to talk about kind of how optimism operates in our world. So until next time, enjoy.